Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Sage02 here bringing you another episode and your AEW Dynamite review for November 4, 2020. The Golem show for Full Gear this Saturday. Pay-per-view. Was a fun show. We had Wardlow and MJF versus Ortiz and Sammy Guevara. We had an intense stare down between Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley prior to their I Quit match this Saturday. We also had Miro in his first singles match against Trent. We had some more consolidation as far as the matches go for Saturday and Full Gear. So go over all that on the podcast and more. So thank you all for joining me. If you're new to the podcast, like and subscribe. Click on that bell for notifications for AEW Dynamite reviews as well as pay-per-view, as well as predictions and all others. So with that, let's get into the podcast now, shall we? So the show started off with the Inner Circle. Well, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, and Santana of the Inner Circle. They were backstage with Dasha. Jake Hager returned after his fight at Bellator, and boy, was he wearing scars from a bro fight. Jericho was praising Hager. Looked like he had two black eyes. He faced Brandon Cotter, something like that. He prayed, but like I said, Jericho praised Hager, and then walked in MJF and Wardlow. MJF said he didn't mean to interrupt him, but he did. And Jericho talked about, because Jericho was going to be on commentary this whole night. So MJF said, I'm glad you get a front row seat to see why I deserve to be in the Inner Circle. So Jericho talked about how he, Santana, and Hager all have the killer instinct, and that maybe MJF is soft. So he said that MJF needs to show him the killer instinct. So MJF said, we'll watch. So Jericho came out, joined Shivani, Excalibur, JR at commentary. They sung Judas. Then MJF, Wardlow came out. Then Sammy and Ortiz. This was a interesting tag team match. First of all, Sammy Guevara, he was the MVP of this match. Boy, did he just took over this match, basically. With dives, he was basically a one-man wrecking crew. And Sammy Guevara, he's coming to his own. So part of this match, it was Ortiz being double teamed by MJF and Wardlow. Then there was a hot tag to Sammy Guevara. That's when the match kind of picked up, and then he had Wardlow and MJF reeling. he did some crazy dives to the outside on both MJF and Wardlow, and then they dive on both, in which they caught him at the same time, but to no avail. And he did a backdrop into a kick to the back to the kidney for on MJF for 2. Then he hit his finisher, the GTH, on MJF for another near fall. Then was a double team by Sammy and Ortiz. Then there was a Tower Doom spot where Sammy and Ortiz were looking at a double superplex. MJF and Wardlow was behind and powerbombed all of them off the top rope. And of course, they Tower Doom spot because usually. But impressive feat of strength by Wardlow. Then Sammy was on the outside. And guy dressed as Serpentico and at ringside. But it wasn't Serpentico. It was Matt Hardy, who threw a chair in Sammy Guevara's face, took him out for the rest of the match, and then MJF applied the Salty Earth armbar on Ortiz, and then Ortiz taps out. MJF and Wardlow win. Of course, MJF need the momentum going into his match. Saturday versus Chris Jericho to determine if MJF is going to be in the Inner Circle. After match, MJF attacked Chris Jericho on commentary after match. That they were separated, but that was interesting. Now, I'm intrigued about this match between Chris Jericho and MJF come Saturday, considering the styles between them two. I'm intrigued, to say the least, but we'll have to see how the match goes. It could go both ways, but we'll have to see. So, we had a sit-down afterwards with Tony Schiavone with Kenny Omega. It looked to be maybe in Kenny Omega's house, I'm not sure, somewhere in Jacksonville area. So they talked about Kenny Omega's journey through the World Title Eliminator Tournament. How he was supposed to face Janela, but of course he was replaced by Sonny Kiss. And then he was supposed to face Phoenix, but then he was replaced by Pentagon. So Kenny talked about how the psyche and how the effect on him. And then he talked about, or he was asked, now that he's going to face Hangman, his former partner in the finals, how's it going to be? So Omega talked about, they're partners and they respect each other, but when it comes to tournaments, whether it was New Japan, Ring of Honor, etc., who are you going to bet against? And said Kenny Omega. and also talked about how it was kind of obvious that see Kenny on one side, Hangman on the other. That was obvious it was going to be them two in the finals. And Kenny's like, really? But again, when it comes to betting, who are you going to bet? Hangman or Omega? And that was how the interview went off or finished. Should be very interesting Saturday. Looking forward to it. If I have to pick who's going to win, I would say Kenny Omega. I'm really intrigued how the match is going to go down. But should be fun. It's just the way I see it's going to be Moxley versus Omega again. And then you get Kenny, the cleaner, as the world champion for 2021. And next year is about Omega. That's my opinion. So we go from that to Miro one-on-one versus Trent. This was a pretty good match. Nothing really special. This was just bringing from the feud between the best friends and Miro and Kip Sabian the last few weeks. So picked up a little late, but still a good match. Sidewalk slam by Miro. He showed some good power in this match. Then roll up by Trent for a 2. Tope con Hero by Trent, followed by spinning DT. Then a big knee for another near fall. Trent, he went to top rope. He slipped, and then Miro come with a big boot, and then applied the game over, which is what he's calling his camel clutch finisher. And Trent tapped out. And Miro wins. Miro, he looks more refreshed in AEW, which good to see. He just looks like he's in there. He looks like he's just happy to be there. And an interesting match for Trent. After match, Chuck Taylor tried to help out because earlier in the match, he and Kip Sabian were fighting toward the back. And then, so Kip Sabian, or they both came back out because Miro was attacking Trent. And then, so they attacked each other, and then Orange Cassidy, who was taken out by John Silver in the middle of the match, came back out and died from the top rope onto Kip Sabian and Miro. And then Miro had to be held back by Kip Sabian. And that was pretty much how things went off the air. So this feud is not over. I don't think. And, you know, it's kind of like the starter feud for Miro until things clear up a little after Full Gear. But I imagine in 2021, it's when Miro is finally getting his big break. And he's finally going to go on the better things in AEW. But this is good for both sides. So then we had the interview with Tony Schiavone and Kenny Omega. So now we had a sit down with JR and Hangman on Page. JR asked, "How are you feeling?" And Hangman looked like he had a cup of whiskey, Jack Daniels, and Hangman said he's good. He's feeling good. And how you feel about facing your former partner in Kenny Omega in the finals? And he said he's not nervous. He knows all his moves. And then JR said, "Well, you know what I think? I think maybe that's not your first drink of the day. And think that maybe you're feeling a little nervous. And how about facing Omega at Full Gear." And he's like, "Yeah. They were champions for a long time, and they're probably the greatest tag team champions in AEW history so far." But yeah, so he said then afterwards, that if I don't win at Full Gear, then what I really got other than this thing of Jack Daniels. So JR then closed with, "Well, as my mother said, moderation, my friend." So another good sit down, hyping up, giving both sides for the match at Full Gear. So then we had a hype up promo package between for FTR and the Young Bucks. It was Bryce with all his talent. Of course, JR, Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, Taz, SCU, of course, FTR and Young Bucks were in it. It was a good promo package. Once again, hyping up the match. So then, next, Team Taz came out. Taz, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks came out. So Taz was pissed. So, funny quote. So Taz came out. He said, "You know what I did today?" And because he was wearing a red hat, Chris Jericho said, "So you put on a red hat?" Chris Jericho always has funny little punchlines on commentary. But so Taz came out, or all Team Taz came out, and he was upset visually. And Taz said he stood out Tony Khan's office for 3 hours today trying to get a word with Tony Khan. And the consultant or whoever said, "Tony Khan's busy talking with talent going over Full Gear on Saturday." So Taz was like, "Okay." So he wanted to slander down on the show with a live microphone as to why for his team, because Brian Cage has won 10 out of his last 11 matches. He said he's basically undefeated because that match with Jon Moxley didn't count. And he's ranked number 1 but he doesn't have a match at Full Gear. And then he talked about Ricky Starks. Oh, Starks, excuse me, won 10 out of his last 11 matches. And he's not even ranked in the top 5. So Starks said, well, every opportunity he's gotten, he's hit it out of the park. And he shows why his name is Absolute Ricky Starks. And he asked Taz, try to make it make sense how they don't have a match at Full Gear. And so Taz talked about the TNT title match between Darby Allin and, Cody. Said they're both entitled, both have a lot of like, and how it should be a good match, but there will be a Team Taz appearance at Full Gear. Mark their words. So that's stuff by Taz. I won't be surprised if there's a fuck finish between the match between Darby Allin and Cody Saturday. Perhaps it has something to do with Will Hobbs. I'm not sure, but it's a little intriguing. So we'll see how Team Taz makes their presence known at Full Gear. Excuse me. So next we had Young Bucks for Private Party. This was interesting. This was a match that the Young Bucks took, rematch of their tournament match last year, where Private Party, who are number 8, eliminated number 1, the Young Bucks. And the story of this match was why the Young Bucks took this match with the injury to Matt Jackson. So this was a quality match. I'm not sure if it was better than their previous match, but it's still pretty good. Was started by Isaiah Cassidy. Then dive, I think, to Nick Jackson on the outside. Or takes out both the Young Bucks. Then double team by Private Party for near fall. Then the same old counter that Private Party eliminated the Young Bucks with last year in the tournament. Private Party went for that counter again, but only for a 2. And then the Young Bucks took control, super kicks, and then the BT trigger by the Bucks for the win. Matt was still favoring his quote-unquote ankle during the match. And then FTR came out. They tried to do the same exact move in breaking or aggravating Matt Jackson's ankle, the same spot, but Hangman came out and prevented that spot from happening. Then Kenny Omega came out, check on the Bucks, and Hangman, he took the chair off, and Chris Jericho was like, okay, hit him with the chair, because Kenny was right in front of him, but didn't happen. So Kenny and Hangman exchanged some words. They gave a fist bump, and that was how the thing went off the air. Show of respect. Show that Hangman shows empathy about what happened with the Bucks months ago, and again, we'll see probably the two most intriguing matches on the card Saturday. Hangman and Omega, and the Bucks and FTR. But the most interesting part of the show was Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley face to face. So Tony Schiavone was in the ring. He introduced Eddie Kingston. Then he introduced Jon Moxley. Moxley took a while to, or stalled a bit to enter the arena, which aggravated Kingston. And then Kingston took the microphone, told Shawn to get out of the ring. He said face to face with Mox, right up in his nose. You think this is a game, John? You think this is a game? I'm going to destroy you come Saturday. I'm going to take your title. I'm going to show it to my mom. Why you never got a grandchild. Why you never got a daughter-in-law. Because this is the most important thing in the sport. After 18 years, I'm not wasting my shot. And then Moxley gingerly took the microphone from Kingston and rattled off saying, loyalty is a bitch, and how, be happy for your friend. And he was so happy for Kingston when he got hired. And Kingston was like, who cares? Who cares? You saw the raw emotion in this promo. Jon Moxley said, I was so happy for you. I was so happy for your mother. And then, struck a nerve to Kingston as soon as Moxley mentioned his mother. Moxley talked about how, how he's happy for his mother, Ruthie, who he sat at the table with, who he said grace with, how he made a promise to protect Kingston no matter what happened to Kingston, always have his back. And well, he may have broke that promise, and then this one, it took another toll. Kingston, he turned his back to Moxley, and Moxley talked about how, after 18 years, you finally gained the shot that you think you deserve, but you're gonna lose. And the part that makes him feel good and makes his stomach turn is that he made a promise to his mother that he can't keep. And then Kingston said, you're gonna have to kill me to beat me on Saturday. So then Kingston walked away, and then Moxley said, you made a promise, and it doesn't matter how, but after 18 years, you were not the man you thought you were. and Saturday you will utter the words, "I quit." And that was a very good promo by both Moxley, Kingston. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be great. Can't wait to see it Saturday at Full Gear. Jeez. So then afterwards, it was Nyla Rose versus Red Velvet. This short squash match. Rose, she landed a beast bomb, and then she used Hikaru Shida's running knee strike finisher for the win. I guess this was to get Nyla Rose on television right before Full Gear because she hasn't really done anything on AEW Dynamite. They just put this match together because there's really no one for Shida to feud with. But so I'm guessing that I don't know. Maybe they give the title back to Nyla Rose. I'm not sure because there's not really a lot of women in EW, so it's really interesting to see where they go from here. I mean, maybe Sheeta wins, and then Baker gets healthier, and then they feud Sheeta with Britt Baker. I don't know, but we'll see. So then we had Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page hype package for their match at Full Gear. This match, of course, the Go Home Show was mainly about hype packages and promos. There was also I skipped this, sorry, because I wasn't actually able to see it during the show, but there was a vignette of PAC finally breaking silence after months in isolation in the UK. So I hope that restrictions get lifted soon. More restrictions get lifted soon, and then maybe PAC, they can bring him back to the US. I mean, if WWE and NXT were able to bring Pete Dunne back from the UK, I imagine that AEW can bring back PAC to AEW Dynamite. And then should be interesting. PAC, we had seen them, and like I said, it's November, so probably 8.5 months. Trying to think of when his last. I think his last match was the Iron Man match with Kenny Omega, the Go Show before Revolution. I think that was his last match. But yeah, still seemed to be in good shape. So he's obviously ready for a return. Anxious to come back, as we are too. So then we had the main event. Dark Order, Colt Cabana, 10, and John Silver's versus Cody and the Gun Club, Austin and Billy. This was our match. And Mark was a prelude to Cody's promo after match. Darby Allin was in the Raptors, was in attendance watching the match. It was a quick draw, which I guess that's Austin Gunn's finisher. It was like a pump handle DT suplex-like maneuver for the win. Good that we finally really get to see Austin on AEW, particularly. I'm guessing he's still really young, still really green in the ring. But so far, pretty good showing. This is kind of a throwaway match, though. Kind of curious what happened with Shawn Spears and Scorpio Sky. I'm not sure if it was meant for this week, but out to see. But nonetheless, then Cody cut a promo on Darby Allin after match saying, "Oh, boo-hoo." So he thinks that the network doesn't want him as the TNT champion. And he said, well, newsflash, the network would love to have him as the TNT champion. And Darby take a long look. And for the network, there needs to be an ace in the hole. But Darby, you're not that ace. So that was how the show went off the air. Pretty solid going show. Also, Sammy, he actually attacked Matt Hardy prior in Private Party's entrance before the match with the Young Bucks. He hit a twist of fate on Matt Hardy on the rampway. But other than that, that was pretty much the show. Got more matches added to Full Gear. So for Full Gear, so we know that it's going to be, we'll have an NWA Women's Championship match between Serena Deeb and Allison Kay. Allison Kay, seen her in Impact and NWA. Should be interesting. Now Rose for Sheeta. Hangman versus Kenny Omega. Orange Cassidy versus John Silvers. FTR versus the Young Bucks. We got... who else we got? We got Cody versus Darby Allin. We got that. And we got Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. And Chris Jericho versus MJF. So, like I said, a good card for Full Gear. Should be interesting. I will probably do either Saturday night or Sunday. I'll watch Full Gear, release the highlights, and put up a review either most likely Monday. It depends how I feel. Either Sunday or Monday, but most likely Monday. Put up a Full Gear review. But nonetheless, that's the video. that's the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, now I wear my AEW shirt for my AEW review. So, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're new, like and subscribe, click on the bell. I'll be out, guys, and I'll see you on Monday, at least next week.